W. Lindner. Benjamin has been researching the origins and I guess the composition of something older as well. As you can tell, it's Waltzing Matilda, just in case you didn't know. And he's been looking into the circumstances of the composition of that particular song, which we all know well. Or I should say songs, because of course there are quite a lot of different versions of it. And he's discovered quite a lot of new information. And he has a new interpretation as well of how the song came into being, which is the subject of his book, which came out about 3 or 4 years ago, which I have read, and in fact I reviewed it, so I can certainly recommend it. It's a good read. And in fact, should you want it, and I'm sure you should get it, you can buy a copy up the back from the lunchtime. Let's talk about Waltzing Matilda.
Does the sound work?
Yes.
Excellent. I thought Murphy's Law was going to follow me through this, but it's abated already. Well, history often concerns dates. 2 dates are especially significant in the birth of a song that you'll all know, Waltzing Matilda. They are the 6th of April and the 18th of June in multiple years. My approach to both dates is what I describe as forensic, that is evidence-based. Now, each of you will find some lyrics on your desk or on your... They've handed them out. If you haven't got one, can you please indicate and I'll get one to you. There's one down the lady there. There you are. Sure. There you go. Anyone who hasn't got one, please grab one. They're typed up lyrics of the original words of Waltzing Matilda, which you can keep as a memento. You can keep it, frame it if you like, but only on one condition, and that is if you help me at the end of this presentation singing these original lyrics penned by Banjo Paterson. He was a solicitor at the time. He wrote them in his spare 1892 legal diary. That legal diary is now held by the National Library of Australia in glass on display behind some glass. Paterson used his notebook, committing his verse to paper whenever he succumbed to that passion for versifying. Now here I've got a facsimile available for anyone to view later if you're interested, so just come and have a look at it. It's not the original, but it's an exact facsimile, which I had produced. On the rear side of the typed up lyrics, on most of the copies you've got, is a copy of Christina Macpherson's music, the original music as written by her. I'll return to that later. Now, the 6th of April is significant for 2 reasons. It's the Australian National Conference day today. That's today's date. And secondly, if you are in Winton, Queensland, today is Waltzing Matilda Day, and has been since 2012. Waltzing Matilda Day is supposed to celebrate the day that it was first sung in public at a banquet at the North Gregory Hotel in Winton. Unfortunately, that date must be incorrect, as I propose to demonstrate to you today. To discover how that mistake was made, it's useful to start with the primary source, Paterson's notebook. That is, that book itself. When first penned in his notebook, Paterson didn't date its composition, nor can one glean the date from other verses found in the notebook, including an index to his first book called The Man from Snowy River and Other Verses, published in October 1895. That index was apparently sent in June of 1895, sent 3rd of June, and on the 17th of June 1895 to his publisher. While none of the material in the notebook is dated, some of the items may be traced due to their content to his experience of outback Queensland. For example, a verse on artesian waters. Now, under the tab W, one finds this, the original words or lyrics to the song. We can be confident that this was the very first iteration of Waltzing Matilda, because as you can see, he's changed a few words in the first verse there by crossing out, quote, "Roving Australia with me, preferring on second thoughts, Waltzing Matilda with me." The National Library holds another handwritten draft written on a separate page and signed by Paterson. In that early undated draft, Paterson changed a word or two. Example, voice for ghost. Well, that's the folk process in action, albeit by the original author himself. Well, why was the 6th of April 1895 chosen as the day it was first performed in public? We can trace the fault to one Sydney May. Now, he spoke to various informants. Some of them were quite old, and published the story of Waltzing Matilda. This is the whole book, that's just the cover, of course. By then, both Paterson and Macpherson had passed away, published it in 1944. After all his interviews, most of them in 1941, 42, after all his interviews, Sydney May calculated the date of the song, that the song was born, by drawing on inaccurate second and third hand information gleaned some 50 years after the song was composed. Lawyers, and I confess to being one myself, cringed when confronted with hearsay dressed up as incontrovertible fact. One of May's informants, who was unspecified, produced for him a banquet toast list at page 22 and 29 of the book, and told him, and that's ancient hearsay, that it was at this banquet, that's the quote here, at this banquet at the Post Office Hotel that Waltzing Matilda was first sung in public. Quote, "The informant's source was not mentioned, so I went in search of the evidence." That's the forensic approach. As a sleuth, I love trove.com, which has been, its praise has been sung today. I'll sing it again. The Queenslander reported a banquet, indeed was held in Winton on the 6th of April 1895. But that one was not held at the Post Office Hotel, but at Steele's Hotel, later called the North Gregory Hotel. Well, bingo, the hotel is confirmed by a contemporaneous report. The report also confirmed those named on the toast list that May received were indeed present at that very banquet, but there's no report of any song, far less Waltzing Matilda, being sung on that occasion at all. Further research revealed that May's informant confused this occasion with another banquet, which was indeed held at the Post Office Hotel, but it was held on the 29th of September 1900. On that occasion, it was reported that one Herbert Ramsay did in fact sing Waltzing Matilda at the banquet held for the Queensland Governor. He didn't do so on the 6th of April 1895, but 5.5 years later. Well, fast forward to 2012, when the Waltzing Matilda Centre in Winton, Queensland, its board cast around the historical material for a day to celebrate Waltzing Matilda Day, and it settled on today's date. Presumably, they reasoned that Sydney May must be right. He had the toast list after all. Well, toast lists aside, we can safely assume that Waltzing Matilda was first sung in public sometime after it was composed, after it was born. Well, to take a forensic approach to when Waltzing Matilda was in fact born and then sung in public, allow me to turn the focus to evidence of Christina Macpherson's travel movements. First by steamer, then rail, and then buggy, four-in-hand buggy. Well, then a 30-year-old Christina, a sister Jean, and her father Ewan Macpherson together departed Melbourne on the 1st of June 1895. They travelled first class on the Wodonga to northern Port Sydney, Brisbane, Townsville. From Townsville, they would have taken the train to Hughenden. There they would have been picked up in a four-in-hand buggy driven by one of her three brothers arriving at the sheep station, Dagworth Station, around 16th of June 1895. Well, enter Sarah Riley, Banjo's then fiancée of some 7 years' duration. She had arrived in Winton, a town about 100 kilometres from Dagworth Station, 1 month earlier. Sarah Riley, attractive 31-year-old squatter's daughter, had invited her fiancé, Banjo, then a Sydney solicitor, to her brother's sheep station, Vindex, just south of Winton. Well, serendipitously, in August of 1895, Christina met her old school friend, Sarah, and the newly arrived Banjo in Winton. The three travelled with Christina's brother, Bob, to Dagworth Station, where, on that veranda, in late August of 1895, the song was composed. The words joined up with the music, right there. And on my calculation, that was 4 months after the 6th of April, 1895. I'm no mathematician, work it out yourself. Sidney May's error, citing this date, has been repeated by subsequent commentators. All relied on ancient hearsay, none of them used trove. It's not their fault, it didn't exist. By filtering out the ancient hearsay, I've attempted a forensic history of Waltzing Matilda based on evidence and not on the fertile imaginings or fictitious inventions. In that category are those who claim the song to be an allegory of the shearer's strike in 1894 and who go on to attribute names to the characters in the song. Their conclusions, I've argued in my book, just don't bear scrutiny, and I suggest I have debunked them, but that's a matter for the reader. That said, there is something of a distinctive Australian quality of Aussie humour as the town of Winton persists in annually celebrating the first public performance of a song on a date 4 months before it was written. Perpetuating the incorrect date of the first, and it's there in bronze, that's outside the Waltzing Matilda Centre. Perpetuating that date of its first public performance is a bronze plaque on a plinth upon which a life-size bronze Banjo Paterson stands outside the Waltzing Matilda Centre to this day. Well, notwithstanding that bronze plaque, I say, long live Waltzing Matilda Day on the 6th of April every year. So that's the 6th of April. 18th of June is significant for 3 reasons. Sidney May did in fact speak personally to one of the first ear witnesses to the song, namely Mary Riley, who was married to Sarah Riley's brother, Frederick. There she is, and there she is on a horse with Frederick too, and their Aboriginal slave, servant. They, the two of them, that is Mary and Frederick, hosted Banjo Paterson and Sarah Riley in their house, which is that place, in Winton, when the pair rendezvoused in Winton just before the trip to Dagworth Station. Then, after the party returned from Winton, with a song in its infancy that was written in under that veranda, Mary hosted the entourage consisting of Sarah Riley, Banjo Paterson, Christina and Bob Macpherson. They were also joined by a local squatter and renowned baritone Herbert Ramsay. So said Sidney May in his book. Mary Riley's modest house boasted a piano, Christina's instrument of choice, and she was drawn to it like a magnet. The perfect host, Mary Riley put on afternoon tea for, she assumed to be, travel-weary guests. With Christina at the piano, they sang over and over the newly crafted song. This could be considered a private practice, but not quite yet a public performance. The first public performance, I suggest, came about later that day, in August of 1895, when Mary Riley became fed up with the persistent, noisy and irrepressible singing. She was agitated for 2 good reasons. One, the afternoon tea she had catered for the homecoming, the return party, got cold, but perhaps more importantly, two, to Mary's newborn daughter Phyllis, This cacophony was certainly no lullaby. She just wouldn't settle. So the entire party, Paterson, Christina and Bob Macpherson and Ramsay, were dispatched to the North Gregory Hotel, as many of the party were staying there, says Sidney May in his book, to sing there to their heart's content. The restless newborn Phyllis was but 9 weeks old, born in Winton on, wait for it, the 18th of June, 1895. That's the first reason why the 18th of June in 1895 has significance for the song. Notably, not a single commentator on the birth of Waltzing Matilda, including Sidney May and many others since, or all others, none have realised that a 9-week baby was one of the first ear witnesses to the song. She probably didn't appreciate it. And that she was probably responsible for the first public performance. Some not to a governor, but to the Winton locals at the piano of the North Gregory Hotel. Now, the second significance of the date, the 18th of June 1818, is 1864, and that's the birth date of Christina Macpherson. So she turned 31 in Winton in 1895. On the historical material available, she was the inspiration for the lyrics. Upon hearing her rendition of Craigie Lee, an old Scottish tune, or a variation as she remembered it, that's the auto harp that she played it on. She was the actual one. It's not. It's close. It's a descendant. But that's what she played it on originally at Dagworth Station. Dagworth Station did not have a piano, but it did have an auto harp. It was played on by. She played it on a number of times. At which time Banjo finally asked her if she knew the words to this tune that she was playing, Craigie Lee. She did not. And so Paterson, the wordsmith, the sometime collaborator, and the dashing professional son of a Scot who was single, well, sort of single, man with a 7-year engagement, a man of 31 years, responded to this attractive, single, talented, Scottish squatter's daughter by penning some whimsical lyrics to accompany Christina's tune. Christina had just weeks earlier turned 31 herself, a most eligible age, you might think. Fetching his notebook, this document, or the original, fetching his notebook, Banjo took up his fountain pen and commenced to impress, first in a clear and legible script for the first line. His excitement intensified as the verses unfolded and his pen hurried across the page in a vain attempt to keep up with his spontaneous excitement. As his story developed, his script deteriorated. Linguistically, he was drawn to the surrounding Queensland vernacular, jumbucks, billabongs, swagmen and tuckbags, and Waltzing Matilda. With the rush of blood, he neglected to include a title in the first iteration, although it was drafted under the letter W there. So with a glint in his eye and an inclination for sardonic humour, as the lyrics progressed, the messier the script became. In the storytelling, Paterson created for himself the opportunity in the first and second chorus to invite his musical muse to travel away with him by not too subtly asking her a rhetorical question. Or was it literal in the first chorus? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling? Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? And answering it as an ode to Christina in the second chorus. You'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. So Christina was not only the inspiration for the lyrics, but deserves full credit as the collaborator, having provided the music. Without her, there would be no Waltzing Matilda. Meanwhile, Sarah Riley, on the outer, was understandably livid. Their 7-year engagement kaput by virtue of this very song. A century later, in 1895, the Winton Council hatched the plan to build a monument, a $3.3 million building dedicated to the song. It was to be Waltzing Matilda Cultural Centre. It opened on Easter Saturday, 18th of April 1998. It quickly became a magnet for tourists, a great advertisement for the town and an economic boom. The monument even boasted a life-size Banjo Paterson. There he is down there, which you saw before, in front, silently welcoming visitors. But the inspiration and the collaborator was, and to this day remains, absent, missing, forgotten. Well, was it because the musician was an unpublished woman, perhaps? A woman devoid of public acclaim? The third significance of the date, 18th of June, should have us all wondering whether Christina has made her feelings felt, protesting her absence at the Waltzing Matilda Centre entrance. Why? Because 151 days after her birth, on the 18th of June 2015, Christina Macpherson's ghost may be heard when an electrical fault, so they say, I don't know if I believe them, caused the Waltzing Matilda Centre to burn to the ground. On the anniversary of her birth, the building lay in cinders, but the bronze Paterson survived intact. Winton's residents wept for a whole day, then regrouped. Now the Waltzing Matilda Centre has been rebuilt bigger and better with government grants of some $20 to $25 million. The new centre was officially opened on the 20th of April 2018. The bronze Paterson still adorns the entrance, alone. Some say Christina's ghost was heard on the 18th of June 2015. Today the centre still awaits a bronze of Christina Macpherson to stand alongside the banjo, welcoming visitors to the monument of Australia's most recorded song, having accumulated on over 1,500 versions of the Waltzing Matilda Centre. So now may I finish by asking this rhetorical question. Isn't it about time that the musical collaborator and undisputed inspiration be properly represented in bronze, standing alongside the banjo at the Waltzing Matilda? Would anyone agree with that? Yes. Thank you. I didn't script that, so I'm glad you did that. Now finally, let's sing the original version in all its whimsical, cheeky humour, and sing publicly for the very first time, as far as I know, Paterson's ungrammatical, quirky and comedic last word, we, W-E, where it appears once in the third verse and twice in the third chorus of the song, as first penned in his 1892 notebook. As a tribute to Dennis O'Keefe, a name that you'll all know, singer-songwriter who for decades led the Australian traditional song sessions at the National Folk Festival. In the session bar right below us here, O'Keefe will sing banjo's original words to a tune resembling that notated by Christina. Before we begin to sing the song, let's have a listen to O'Keefe's much slower, romantic and style and rhythm. And then we'll give it a go, taking guidance from the first verse and the first chorus, which was sung by Dennis O'Keefe.
Oh, there once was a swagman camped in the billabong under the shade of a coolibah tree.
No jolly swag here.
As he looked at the old
This is a love serenade.
boy,
That's how you sing it.
who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Who'll come a waltzing Matilda, my darling? Who
singer, songwriter, and I bet you didn't know, auto harpist extraordinaire to accompany us on Christina's auto harp. We're now, just listen, we are now, half close your eyes, use your folky imaginations, we're now standing on the veranda of Dagworth Station in the outback with the blazing sun setting on the horizon. On the count of 4, nice and slow, nice and romantic, let's go straight to the original version of Waltzing Matilda, written by Paterson, music by Christina Macpherson.
There's a little introduction.
Sing it nice and loud.
There once was a wagon and in the billabong under the shade of a cool lemon tree, and he sang as he looked at the old Billy boiling. Oh, come waltzing Matilda with me. Oh, come waltzing Matilda, my darling. Oh, come waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, leading the waterback. Oh, come waltzing Matilda with me. Now down came the jumper to bring back the water home. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him in glee, and he sang as he put him away in the tucker bag. You'll come waltzing Matilda with me. You'll come waltzing Matilda, you'll come waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, leading a waterback. You'll come waltzing Matilda with me. Now down came a squatter, riding on his thoroughbred. Down came a policeman, 1, 2, 3. Whose is the jumper you got in the tucker bag? You'll come waltzing Matilda with me. You'll come waltzing Matilda, my darling. You'll come waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, leading a tucker bag. You'll come waltzing Matilda with me. But the swagman, he got and he jumped in the water hole, drowning himself by the cool artery, and his ghost can be heard as he sings in the billabong. Ooh, come waltzing Matilda with me. Well, give yourselves a great applause, a great hand. That was well done. And Christina Macpherson would be proud of that rendition. And can I have a special applause for Bruce Watson? I'll now take any questions. I've also, believe it or not, got copies of my book available at the back. It retails at $32.99. However, for this conference, I'll sell it for $29.99, and I guarantee, I'm a lawyer, a criminal lawyer by trade, and I don't rip people off. I guarantee you will get 1 cent change in the old money. Yes.
if you ever want to go and hear another, well, hear Gregory North at the North Gregory Hotel in winter. I went in 2019 and he was explaining his versions of the whole thing, accompanying with a zither. It's a little bit like an auto harp, same thing really. But I don't know whether he's still doing it, but I asked him, why do you come up for this? And I said, well, they give me 1 or 2 weeks free accommodation, middle of winter. You'd be silly not to take it up. I don't know whether he's still doing it, but that's really interesting because Greg North is an interesting guy.
2021.
We saw him do it in 2022,
Yeah. After COVID.
and he incorporates Benjamin's research.
Yeah, I know Gregory, and he is continuing to do it. In fact, with great alacrity nowadays. The more he does it, the more he wants to do it, and he's a very fine exponent of the tradition.
He had trouble getting people from the bar at one side into the lounge to come and listen to this, and I'm looking at these guys, farmers or whatever, workers, sitting there drinking away, and I said to them, why don't you come in and listen to him?
Yeah.
Really entertaining guy.
Yeah, I work at a different bar, but I get
Thank you for that. I'm a bit perplexed. I know Sydney made two major editions of his work.
He did.
And in the 70s, 3 competing authors put in 3 totally different versions of the origins of the song.
Yep.
Hastings Pierce, Oscar Mendelssohn, and Richard Magoffin.
Yep.
And in one of them, there's a lot of reference to Josephine Penn.
Yep.
She's mentioned in your book as the mother of a child.
Dagworth. A fellow called Dagworth, because he was conceived out of wedlock, and his mother wanted to advertise the fact and try to get Bob Macpherson to pay alimony.
Yes, Bob
And succeeded to do it.
Apparently, Josephine was Bob's girlfriend at one point.
Yes.
The reason I'm asking this
Yes.
is that Ron recorded some people who said that they were at Dagworth Station and had associated the tune not with Christina Macpherson but with Josephine Penn.
Yep.
And that Josephine played it on the piano in Riley's Hotel at the time that the song was composed. Now that version was published by Mendelssohn or Pierce.
Yes.
It seems to have disappeared from the commentary since, in that I can't see any reference to it in most of the books, because there are about 7 or 8 books with different versions of the origin of the song.
Yes.
Do you have are you aware of the argument about Josephine Penn
Yes.
not being Christina?
Yes.
And did you reject it as not
Yes.
substantiated?
Yeah, she's got an alibi. She wasn't in Dagworth or at Winton in 1895. She arrived in 1897. She spent most of her time, I think, in Roma or another, I've just forgotten, it might have been Charters Towers, but she wasn't actually on site when the song was written, and that really does put her out of the picture. But it does provide an excellent illustration of how old memories fade. And the number of times I've said that to a jury, I wish I'd have stopped it every time, but old memories do fade, and they become hearsay on hearsay. And then when Edwards, who was obviously a brilliant man and loved to get to the source of things, when he did his very best to get to the source, all he found was ancient hearsay on hearsay and mistaken memories. They were mistaken. He wasn't. He was doing his best. The thing that does has been a mystery for me and still is that at the dinner table at Dagworth Station, there are about 13 people. They're all listed in Sydney May's book. And this is the dinner table where one of them says, did you see anything interesting happen today? Oh, yeah, I saw a man sort of waltzing Matilda just down the road. And that apparently sparked off the conversation from Paterson saying, what's a waltzing Matilda? Can you tell me what it is? Now, each of those 13 eyewitnesses to this particular event. None of them happened to be a historian, none of them were in the folk tradition, and none of them, well, maybe they were illiterate, I don't know. But the point is that they didn't record this, and I've found no further recordings of what in fact transpired at that dinner. The best I can do is find in Sydney May's book a reference to Mari Riley, who would have died probably months after being interviewed in about 1942. She died, and the book was published 2 years later. And yes, you're quite right, a second edition was published in 1955, which incorporates everything from the first edition, but adds a photograph of this bloke, Ramsey, the bloke who was also singing, the baritone who was singing at for the governor. It adds a photograph of that, which Sydney May got from, I think his daughter visited someone in England and got the photo, because the Ramseys all went back to England. Anyway, there's a question down here.
Better make that the last one, I think.
Sure.
Otherwise we've got to go to lunch.
Yes. Bob and Josephine.
Yep.
You have Sarah and Banjo.
Bob and Josephine, or Bob and
Is it Josephine?
Christina?
No, it's Josephine, Bob's girlfriend. Had the baby.
No. Oh yes, Josephine had the baby. Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Mary Riley is the mother of Sarah.
No. Murray Riley is the wife of Frederick Riley, and Sarah Riley is the sister of Frederick Riley.
Okay, so they're staying, Banjo and Sarah are staying at their place.
At their house in Winton, yep.
So you have Bob and Josephine aren't married. Sarah and Banjo.
Bob and Josephine. Josephine's not there.
I understand. She had a daughter. She had a child to Bob.
She did, but
There's three different slants.
few years later. Yeah.
There's a different slant.
Sorry. Yep. Go on. What's the question?
So you have these people hanging around with each other out of wedlock in this little township, and you've got a song and you've got words down here. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with we. So is that we a threesome?
The short answer to that is maybe. It depends how fertile your imagination is and which direction it goes. But I'll let you write the book on that one. I think it's too hot to handle for me. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, and Bruce as well. That was well worth waiting for, and it was good to get down to St. Cliff again too.
Sure.